What is up, guys and girls? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the first 4 One Piece sets that came out and how you still have time to get in on these sets before they rotate out this upcoming year. So if you're ready for that, sit back, relax, let's hop right in. So for those of you that didn't already know, One Piece is going to be starting a rotation of their old cards, basically. This means that any old cards that come from the first couple sets will be rotating out of competitive play, basically, and won't be usable anymore in competitive play. So because of that, cards from the first 4 sets, or just the first 4 sets in general, will no longer be most likely ever reprinted again. Because Bandai has no reason now to go back and reprint those sets, because guess what? There's no competitive play for the players. There's no cards in there besides, the manga rares and some of that are even playable or able to be played in the game anymore, and thus they're probably not going to be seeing any more reprints ever. So, because of that, the first 4 sets seem kind of intriguing, because if they have no more possibilities of reprints, that means whatever supply we currently have on the market is whatever's going to be printed forever, basically, in the One Piece TCG. We'll never be getting more Romance Dawn. I think most people know that. We're not getting any more OP2, OP3, or OP4. So Kingdoms of Intrigue, Paramount War, and Pillars of Strength. All those will be donezo. You won't be seeing them anymore. They won't be out in the wild. It'll be like similar to how Pokemon does it. Once a set rotates out of the game, basically, you don't see any more reprints. You don't see them hitting store shelves anymore, and the price basically just goes up from there because investors know that it's a safer asset, basically, that it's not going to be reprinted. So the price is only going to go down based on demand and no longer based on supply, which means as long as demand holds up, the prices are going to hold up too. And real quick, I did just want to say, if you are enjoying the video, if you could leave a like and subscribe, it would help me out a ton. We're getting close to 500 subscribers. That's the next goal. I'll be doing a giveaway once we hit that. So if you could, leave a like and subscribe, help me out a ton. Join the Discord. Now let's get back to the video. So I'm going to be doing just like small breakdowns of each set real quick and just go through all 4 sets that were in the first block of the One Piece TCG. Just kind of break them down and where I think they can go. Obviously, up first, we have Romance Dawn. Now, obviously, there's 2 booster boxes for this. There's the blue bottom, and then there's the white bottom. Now, both these have become increasingly expensive, and I think they're kind of hitting, I don't want to say peak of where they could go, but I think they're definitely in the upper echelons of current hype cycle of One Piece. Now, in the future, I'm talking 5 years from now, I definitely could see Romance Dawn being even the white bottom, I could see it being a $3,000, $4,000 booster box, just based on supply and demand, and I don't think One Piece is going to be over within the next 5 years, or it's going to be getting close to wrapping up, and it's kind of like the perfect time if you're looking to invest in this sort of stuff to maybe be looking to sell off in 5 to 10 years from now, obviously. So if you're buying one in now at $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 on a white bottom, you could be looking into $4,000 to $5,000, I think, pretty easily in 5 years. I don't think that's unrealistic. Now, obviously, it depends on where the demand for the TCG goes. If people start dropping off and don't care about it anymore, I obviously think it could drop back down. But overall, I don't think this price is going to be moving too much. I think worst case scenario, it remains kind of stagnant at maybe $1,000 worst case for years. I don't think that's likely, but that's probably worst case. I don't see these boxes realistically, unless there's a huge drop in demand, dropping below $1,000, just because it's the first set. It's a box that a lot of people are going to want to open because the Shanks is cool, but it's just like the first set, so people are going to want to open it, just like how base sets of other games like Pokemon, for example, and even Magic stuff, people want to go back to the original. This is the original box. I think people will want to open it. Now, blue bottoms are a little bit different. These are already like $5,000 to $6,000. I could see these being a $20,000 box in 5 years. Like, it sounds crazy to think, and maybe even goes higher. They just will keep going up because they're so limited. They were the first print run. They never saw reprints of blue boxes or blue bottoms, obviously. It's going to be interesting to think about what this box's outcome is going to be in 5 years. Now, past that, longer term, I think it could be pretty stagnant as One Piece ends and, demand and stuff like that starts to subside. But within the next 5 to 7 years, I think this is going to be perfectly fine. So that's kind of where my prediction is for Romance Dawn. And next up, we do have Paramount War, or OP2. Now, this set is definitely on the weaker side. I'm not going to sugarcoat words or anything like that. It's definitely a weaker set, bar none. Like, there's pretty much one good card that's going to be the Ace manga. Most of the other cards in the set are kind of just whatever. Nobody really cares about them. There's some cool alt arts, I'm sure, in there, and like, there's some playables, I'm sure, that were in there for at some point. But for the most part, most collectors and investors are going to be looking at just the top card, and that's going to be the Ace manga. And obviously, I think this Ace manga is better than the Ace manga we got in OP 13. I think that's decent. At least the regular one. Red manga, I think, is going to be better, but I think this one's just a little bit cooler. Personally, it's a better panel. It's a better part of the story. Obviously, it's a big part of the story, but I think it's a cool card. It looks great. But that's really the only thing right now that I think is kind of helping Paramount War is that Ace is, a pretty popular character. A lot of people know him because the few, people who get into One Piece, it's a long journey, and the first 200 episodes feels like, oh yeah, I got through 200 episodes, and you're like, oh, I'm only a fifth of the way done, and you've watched Ace for at least a little bit, so you know him. But for the most part, Ace is pretty cool. Paramount War seems to be on the lower end of like movers. Like, it hasn't moved substantially upward. I think it's like sitting at like $500 or roughly, maybe 600, somewhere around there. Again, 5 years from now, this box is rotating out this year. I could see in the short term this spikes up to maybe even 1,000, and we start seeing a baseline for all of these boxes in the coming months with rotation happening, that all these are going to be at $1,000. I think that's pretty short term. Maybe we'll see, especially with the current hype cycle, and Bandai not going to go back and reprint these first four at the very least. I think that's, if they reprint these first four, I think that'd be pretty crazy, because like I said, they're rotating out this year. We'll see what happens. Bandai's could do what Bandai wants to do and reprint everything, but I think for the most part, short term, I think this could be a $1,000 box. Longer term, I'm not as optimistic on this one for 5-year outlooks. I think this one's more of a short term play, but I think 5 years even, it could be $2,000-$3,000 just on scarcity alone. We'll see. Obviously, the value inside is still pretty expensive compared to Pokemon boxes, but I think $1,000 short term isn't unrealistic, especially with the current hype. Now, next up is going to be OP3, Pillars of Strength. And ultimately, this set kind of falls into the same for, I think, OP2. It's a definitely better set, for sure, just overall. But again, it kind of falls into it where it has like a top couple cards, and then the rest of the set is just kind of whatever. Now, obviously, that top card is going to be the Sogeking manga, which I personally think is pretty cool. Obviously, I'm an Usopp fan. He's on my shirt right here. I think Usopp's pretty cool, but a lot of people in the community don't necessarily like Usopp, don't like his character, don't like, how he is in the anime and manga, which is fair. Everyone has their own personal opinion. Like I said, I like Sogeking. I wouldn't personally be investing into it, but if I picked it up at the right price, I'd be happy about it. Now, obviously, because that Pillars of Strength is, already kind of an expensive box. I think it's about $800, maybe $700 around now, right around there, which I think is pretty expensive for a box. I think short term, especially in the current hype cycle, I think we could see it definitely pushing up to 1,000, because again, I don't think Bandai is going to reprint that. I think investors are going to take that as a green light, basically, to go ahead and buy as many as they can, because the price will keep going up because there's limited amount of these. Like, realistically, they printed these for a smaller demand base or player base that, has grown substantially since this was released and even reprinted back in the day. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of these boxes just sitting around right now, because most of them got opened up by the player base. Ultimately, like I said, short term, I think these definitely can hit that $1,000, maybe even $1,200 mark. Longer term, I think your money's better spent elsewhere if you're going for a longer term 5-year play or something like that. But short term, if you're just trying to make plays in this hype cycle, make some extra money, at $800, maybe it grows to $1,200. I could see that happening. I'm not saying it's for sure, but I could see that happening. And lastly, OP04, personally, my favorite out of all of them. Like, I think there's the coolest cards in this set, bar none. Now, obviously, the main chase is going to be the manga. It's going to be the Sabo manga. But I think the Boa SP has recently overtaken it, or is very close to overtaking it in popularity and price, which doesn't surprise me. I think SPs for the longest time were kind of undervalued. Like, obviously, if there's a lot of SPs in a set, you can only get like 1 to 2 out of a single case. So hitting an SP in a set, especially if you get the specific one that's highly sought after, is difficult, or maybe even just as difficult as a manga. I'd have to do the math on that sort of stuff based on how many SPs there are, but it could definitely be up there in difficulty to do. So pulling the Boa SP is pretty difficult to do, thus the price is pretty high. Now, because of this set having 2 decently chase cards, and I think the Boa will continue to rise in price because a lot of people seemingly like Boa. That's kind of been established that I think she's now overtaken Nami as the waifu of all of One Piece TCG, that people want Boa Hancock as their waifu type character that they're gonna collect. Which, no shame, collect what you want to collect. I ain't gonna judge. But, Boa has seemingly taken over. I think they did a report, PSA did a report on talking about the most common characters that were submitted for grading that weren't Pokemon. And it ended up being Luffy, Zoro, and I think Boa was number 3 right behind that. So, interesting case for Boa. I think she's going to continue to grow up, get a larger audience, especially if her prices continue to just keep going up. We'll definitely see. She has some interesting, SPs in the upcoming set. Obviously, I think the Kingdom's Intrigue is probably a lot of people's favorite because it's like a up-close portrait style. Really cool artwork, personally. I think it looks great, and I think it'll continue to rise. Now, obviously, short-term for this box, I think if the Boa SP continues to do what it's doing, and having the Sabo manga possibly in there, I think we're going to see this box, I think, overtake the other two pretty soon. I know total set value might not be as high or whatever, but I think overall the 2 chase cards are better than the other 2 chase cards, in my opinion, personally. But, that's what it is in my opinion. So I think this one, even short-term, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 1,200 just like Pillars of Strength eventually in the next, 3 to 5 months. We'll see what happens, obviously. I don't know the future or anything like that. These could drop back down to 300, down to 200. Who knows? I don't expect these will be reprinted. Even longer term, I'm not as down bad on this one because I think the Boa will retain its popularity in the longer term because I don't see anything in this type of art style getting made by Bandai again. So that's going to be it from me today. Appreciate each and every one of you. Like I said earlier, if you could like and subscribe, help me out a ton. We're getting close to 500. Join the Discord. Might be doing some giveaways in there. So if you want to, join up, we got some new people joining in there recently. So I appreciate each and every one of y'all. That's going to be it for me today. Take care.